Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great day so far. During COVID, grocery shopping feels like what I would imagine what the prehistoric men felt like. Each day, you go out into the unknown, not knowing what dangers you will face. That was leadership. That was strength. It is no surprise that for a sales organization, these are trying times. We have concerns as leaders. How are we going to make payroll? How are we going to stay above water? How will we weather this storm? There were two types of leaders when COVID hit. The first, who stayed the course, and like our friend the ostrich, decided to bury a nice hole for their heads to fit in. The second chose to course correct, change, and adapted to the circumstance. Let's take a look at manager number one. Manager number one was used to micromanaging, leading through fear, and dictating how work was to be done. Overnight, office FaceTime disappeared. They could not hold employees' hands like they did before. There was no more peeking into their cubicle to see what they were working on. What were they going to do? Zoom 3 times a day? Mandatory check-ins? From the employee's perspective, smothering. We all know someone like this, and we've seen the outcome. So why do we continue to fall back on this approach like a security blanket? Let's recap. What was manager number one's focus? Metrics, FaceTime, control. In other words, this was all about the manager. What was in it for the manager and the company? Manager number one didn't take the time to appreciate what the employee was experiencing. Wait a minute, this sounds like a poorly run sales call. What happens when we talk to the client and make it all about us? Our product, our features, our solution. Click. Who is the one who's doing most of the talking? Who is the one getting the least amount of value? Ultimately, this approach led to layoffs, broken families, and lost revenue. I'd like to retell a story that was told by Simon Sinek. If you aren't familiar with his book, Leaders Eat Last, I'd highly recommend to pick up a copy. This was during the 2009 recession. The owner of a manufacturing plant was meeting with his executive team and discussing layoffs. The owner refused to accept this reality. And so he said to his team, every person from the CEO down to the janitor will be mandated to take off 1 week of unpaid vacation throughout the year. It is better that all of us suffer a little than a few of us suffer a lot. An interesting thing happened. Those who could afford to take off more traded with those who could afford to take off less. The ones who were better off took unpaid days from the coworkers who could not to ease their burden. That manufacturing plant got through the recession without having to lay off a single employee. The morale was stronger for it. They knew that the company was loyal to them. We often see in leadership the requirement for employees to be loyal to the company. How could they have left us for another position? But when it comes to their turn, they do not offer their loyalty back. Convenience trumps loyalty. As soon as an employee becomes inconvenient, they're let go. Now, let's look at manager number two. He brought everyone together and said, my friends, the next few months will not be easy, but we will get through this as a team. First thing the manager did was review the quotas. These numbers did not take into consideration COVID. Let us revisit this number and see what we can achieve as a group. The second initiative, he said, my friends, This is a stressful time. If you need to step away from your computer, go for a walk, or stop working early, I get it. Your mental health comes first. The third initiative, he said, my friends, what do you need to feel like we are all still connected? Manager number 2 made it about his team. He made it about them. Let me tell you a secret. Call volumes did not drop. They rose. Talk time did not drop. They rose. Without the FaceTime, without someone breathing down their neck, they still rose. The employees felt empowered, cared for, and respected. The manager knew what they were going through and did not just say the words, but showed it in actions. How are we going to practically incorporate what manager number 2 did? Change the way that we conduct one-on-ones. Most management or leadership books you read will tell you to let the rep lead the one-on-one. This is about them after all. While this is normally a good approach, during a disaster like COVID, this won't do the trick. You ask your reps, how are you feeling? Their answer will be, I'm okay. Think of it like this. During a presentation, we have all asked our prospects, do you have any questions? The natural response we'll get is, I'm good, thanks. As a leader, you must lead, empathize, and share. Thanks for taking the time to join me, John. I can't even begin to think what you must be going through as a sole contributor. The stress and pressures of getting to that yes, with what's going on. How are you dealing with the stress? You know, I find it difficult to manage the situation some days. It's hard. For me, a nice cup of coffee and an episode of Modern Family help me get back to center. What do you do? Now, what did I do here? I didn't simply ask and let it go. I shared something about myself, what I find helpful, and opened up. When I speak with sales managers, there's this incessant need to put up walls. We as managers can't be seen as vulnerable. What will our team think of us? It is with that vulnerability that a direct report will start to open up and share. Just like the way that our prospects can see through a facade that we put up, so can our direct reports see through a facade that managers put up. Number 2, do not hold your reps to the same expectations that you had before COVID. Your goals, targets, metrics are no longer relevant. Why hold people to the same expectation when the world is drastically different? The way we are interacting with each other and our prospects is significantly different. We know that companies are undergoing spending freezes and are less likely to engage with vendors. So why then are we expecting the same out of our direct reports? As Einstein once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over while expecting different results. Let's rephrase this slightly. It is also insanity to do the same thing in different circumstances and expect the same results. As a manager, your responsibility is to remove barriers, not put up more. The time for creative pricing is now. So you never gave discounts like this before. Time to change. So you never allowed payment plans before. Time to change. So you never used to give free trials. Well, you know what? It's time to change. When finding customers, 5% of prospects are ready and willing to buy. 95% are in no decision. The goal is to fight the status quo, to show that staying put is detrimental to their business. As sales professionals, we work to change this mindset day in and day out. Then why Why then, when it comes to self-reflection and us as a business, we choose to stay firm, even though things have changed? Encourage creativity. Don't diffuse it. Number 4, talk with, don't talk at. As a salesperson, we work to use active listening to understand what our buyer's true pain is. If we did all the talking, we would never know what the why was behind that what. The same approach should be used while working with your direct reports. Ask with the intent on listening. Promote discussion as a collective and in a one-on-one session. What you will discover is that your direct reports, much like your customers, have hidden pains. Pains that you will uncover while practicing active listening. The common trend in all of these 4 points is to practice mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Wikipedia describes it as the psychological process of purposefully bringing one's attention to experiences occurring in the present moment without judgment, which one develops through the practice of meditation and through other training. Now, we don't need to practice meditation in order to be mindful. Let's break down this definition a bit further. Purposefully bringing one's attention to experiences occurring in the present moment. What are the key words here? Purposeful, experiences, and present. Purposeful. Mindfulness doesn't just happen, but requires intent. Experiences. While your experiences are important, we are focusing on your direct reports experiences. Present. The focus is on the now, not the future and not the past, but the now. Intentionally bringing your attention to your reps' experiences today. Next line. Which one develops through the practice of meditation and through other training? The key words here being develops, practice, and training. The purpose behind all of these 3 words is that mindfulness does not happen overnight. It comes with practice, training, and development. As a manager, you can practice being mindful as a group and through one-on-ones as well. As a group, being mindful of how everyone is collaborating or working together. From one person to another, how are you being mindful to your direct reports experiences as an individual? Both are important to address. As Richard Branson said, clients do not come first. Employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of your clients. So, how can we have mindful expectations from our team? Number 1, there is an expectation to try. The focus is not on the outcome, but the attempt. I want you to remember, some of your direct reports may have never or rarely worked from home before. Now they have been thrust into an environment where they may not be comfortable working where they are. They have distractions and other obligations, such as children running around. The expectation here is to try and make it work, whether that is through social selling, such as LinkedIn or Facebook, dials, emails, what have you. The purpose is to try. Now, what if there are team members that simply don't try? Well, we have 2 options. We can make an assumption about why they aren't trying, or we can ask with the intent of understanding or being mindful. What is holding you back from making that first step to trying. You want to work with your direct report in order to help them get to where they need to be, to find out what is the underlying factor of why they aren't able to try, and work to fix that. Number 2, there is an expectation to improve. With our new normal, there are new benchmarks and new talk tracks, new conversations that we are having with our prospects. There are going to be things that work, and there are going to be things that don't work. As a manager, mindfully having an expectation for your team to improve over time. What is working and what doesn't work? Promote sharing and openness. It is okay to get things wrong. It is okay to get a no. What are we learning from it? How can we do things differently next time to have a better outcome? When we make our focus on improvement, the outcomes will organically improve. There's an expectation to respect. When we promote an expectation of respect, we are creating an environment that others will also practice mindfulness. There will be those that try more than others. There will be those that improve more than others. It is not enough as a manager to simply practice yourself, but to encourage and enforce others to practice mindfulness towards each other as well. You can implement these positive practices every single day. But if your team is judging each other on what they can or can't do, it will all be in vain. When we manage expectations while being mindful, you are doing something that companies can only dream of. You are changing and adapting your company's culture. Here's another story, Compliments of Simon Sinek. It is about being a good manager, and he compares it to getting fit and working out. We work at it. How do we get fit? We work at it day after day. If you work out for 8 hours one day, will you get fit? No. You'll simply be in a lot of pain the next day. However, if you run on the treadmill for 30 minutes every day, you will get fit. When will it happen? I don't know. But one day, you will notice you aren't breathing as heavy. You can run faster and longer. Your body weight is going down. The same can be said for being a good manager or building a top culture. Going to an 8-hour workshop one day will not magically make you a good manager or build a good culture. But taking small steps every single day, moving forward will. If you take anything away from the words that I'm speaking today, take away this. Nothing comes easy. There is no silver bullet to becoming a top manager. There is no silver bullet to being a top performer. There is no silver bullet to building a world-class culture. Practice, practice, practice. Start small and grow from there. Incorporate small changes each day in your own routine. As a sales manager, what are we managing? Are we managing talk time? Are we managing revenue? Are we managing dials? Or are we managing people? Metrics are important. Without revenue, none of us would have a job. However, revenue is the destination, not the journey. What road will you take to get there? What kind of manager do you want to be? Thank you. If anybody has any questions over here, please feel free to ask them, and I will be more than happy to respond. So we are just taking questions right now and waiting to see if anyone has to answer. Gabenga. Great question, Jesse. So when companies are looking to deploy work from home as a strategy, I've noticed that a lot of times they will overemphasize Zoom calls. They will overemphasize trying to collaborate as much as possible, and it comes across as smothering to the employees. Some of the companies that I've worked with that have made a positive work from home strategy, they have incorporated different rooms within a talking app like Google Meets, or having different conversations where people are encouraged to share real life stories of how they're working through COVID, like through Slack, and sharing more water cooler conversations. What this will do is really help people to feel like they're still at the office and still get to interact and chat with people, and try to mimic as much as possible the environment of being able to walk over to your colleague's desk and having a quick conversation with them. They've also incorporated open Zoom rooms that will be open after working hours if people wanted to come in, have a drink, and share what they were working on that day, share things that they're having after work that they're doing, in order to promote more conversations with employees. It's not something mandatory, which is the key over here. It's something that people can pop in, pop out, say hi, and do whatever they want. In addition, the one-on-ones are very personal. They're extremely personal. There's a lot of communication between the managers and their team members on how they're coping with working from home and what do they need. I know one manager, he asked an employee, how can I make your home office as close to our real office as possible? And he said, you know what? I don't usually make coffee at home. I don't have a coffee machine. So having coffee would be fantastic. And he sent the guy a $25 Tim's card. He said, go out and get coffee. If you need more, let me know. And what that did, it showed the employee and the direct report, my manager actually cares about how I work, how I am doing my job, and how I can be as comfortable as possible in this environment. The second thing that I've noticed that has made a really large impact on the employees is the expectation to come back into the office. The most successful companies are not putting a timeline saying we're going to be back in 2 months, we're going to be back in 3 months. And it's giving people the option to extend working from home even after coming back to the office is an option. Some people hate working from home. Other people are finding that they are more successful than in the office. And that tends to be something that's a concept that managers aren't used to. Like I was saying in the talk, people are concerned with, what if I can't see them? If I can't see what they're doing on their computer, how do I know that they're working? And because of that, seeing that productivity hasn't gone down, but it's actually gone up while people have been working from home is staggering. It's staggering to them. So those companies that have embraced that have also seen to be flourishing and becoming much better. Excellent question, Jesse. Probably have time for one more question if anyone would like to ask. Well, it looks like that people are dropping off. So thank you so much for everyone who came to watch. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Enjoy the rest of the session and networking and the main stage. And if anyone would like to get in contact with me to ask me any more questions further on, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation. Take care, everyone.